Hello, my name is Regis Kilvin, and the game is Heroes of the Storm. And today I'm going to be taking you through the top 12 heroes in the Hero League meta right now. I think it's helpful for people to know which heroes are successful right now and which heroes you can rely on as strong picks and learn to both play and to counter because you're going to see them in Hero League quite often. So about once a month or so, I want to go through and identify the top 12 heroes in Hero League of Heroes of the Storm. And I'm going to do that by identifying the top 3 heroes in each of the 4 primary roles that Heroes of the Storm identifies. So, without further delay, let's go ahead and take a look at the support role and the top 3 heroes within that support role. Up first is Lili. This little panda supports the highest win rate in all of Hero League, according to hotslogs.com. And that's really just because she is a little bit of a do-it-all. She has strong basic heals. Her blind effect, blinding winds, is a great way to shut out enemy melee attackers or auto attackers. Her serpents add up to quite a bit of long-term damage over the course of a game. So she does a little bit of utility, she does a little bit of damage, she does a lot of healing. Her ultimate is definitely susceptible to stuns against really good teams or organized compositions or high-level players. But even despite that, her kit is so easy to play and she's so survivable along the way that she ranks as the best support in the game as far as win rate is concerned. And until you get to the very highest echelons of the game, Lili will be a great option for you in the support role. There is also Uther, yet another Warcraft support, and he won't be our last. Uther is really the ultimate support. He kind of does everything you'd expect a support to do, and he does it incredibly well. He has extremely strong burst healing for single targets. He can do AoE healing with his W effect. He has a stun, which is fantastic for a healer to have. Anybody that has a stun gets some bonus points, and Uther's is a pretty good one to boot. And finally, his ultimate choices are both pretty good, but his Divine Shield can be an absolute game changer all on its own. His talents have some utility branches, and they just make him stronger as games are on. Uther is really the best support in the game when the best players are playing him. So if you can't get Lili, or you don't dig Lili, or you're worried that stuns are going to lock Lili down, you certainly can't go wrong with Uther, and he's often a first pick support in most Hero League matches. And then finally, for our third support, something a little bit different is Rhonda. She sports an incredibly high win rate, and she's not exactly a full solo support, although she can be. She's really more of an off support or utility support kind of character. In other words, her heals aren't quite as strong as other solo strong supports in the game, but they're still good enough to get you by. But she offers enough extra damage and cool utility spells like Call Down Mule that she really just fills in the gap in most teams. Plus, her trait Hunter's Mark makes her an incredibly scary offensive threat when she's paired with an offensive team and an organized team. Not to mention, her Lunar Flare stun is incredibly powerful. It even puts Uther's to shame and makes her a very good support to have if you have some high damage or lockdown type characters alongside your team. When it comes to assassins, moving on to assassins, our top selection for assassins is Raynor. He might seem like a pretty simple character since he's in the tutorial and the first hero that most people get to know, but Raynor actually sports the highest win rate of all assassins in Hero League. And it's really much like Lili. He's kind of just good because he's so simple and so high value. His auto attacks do so much damage if you build them correctly that you don't have to do much to succeed as Raynor. Plus his range is higher than other heroes by default, so he can poke from farther away and do so more safely thanks to his auto healing E ability. And then finally, his attack speed buff on his W is not only good for him to increase his damage, but it works for the whole team and even minions, meaning that he can both enable your team in team fights and help push down a lane with rapid efficiency. So Raynor is easy to play, hard to mess up, and very, very good. We also have Jaina in our assassin slot. Jaina is really kind of the ultimate mage character in the game, a ranged, ability-based damage dealer. And the reason she's so good isn't just because of her damage, but because of her trait, which allows her to slow any enemies that take damage from her abilities. So that chill effect that applies a slow and damage debuff to people is very powerful because it gives her a little bit extra mobility advantage against anyone that might try to kill her, but also sets up kills for your team and just gives you favorable positioning and mobility in team fights that other heroes can't quite afford, especially since she can slow an entire team pretty easily. Plus, her burst damage is just insane when you build her correctly, so she's a threatening force. But she's not the only mage that's going to be at the top of our assassins list. We're also going to identify Kelthas. Instead of ice, he plays with fire, and he is very similar to Jaina in a lot of ways, but his damage is more chaotic in a sense. If he gets chain bombs and living bombs applied to teams, he can absolutely wreak havoc and top the damage charts every single time. And the threat that chain bomb offers to enemy teams means that they really have to be conscious of their positioning and decision making, and it often susses out errors and mistakes that allows him to take advantage. He also has Flame Strike for solid area of effect damage. His ultimate has one of the shortest cooldowns and highest utilities of all ultimates in the game, so Phoenix can be dropped anywhere and everywhere all the time, making impacts on the game. And finally, his stun on E is just very, very good. It's long range and fast and can set up kills or help him make daring escapes because he is quite squishy. So that's it for our assassins. Now let's go ahead and move on to our specialists. Number 1 is Zeebo. He has the highest win rate of all specialists in Hero League according to HotSlogs.com. And Zeebo is really just a high hero damage specialist that's sustained damage, not necessarily burst damage. He's fine at pushing down forts and siege damage, but really he thrives in team fight scenarios. His spiders are extremely annoying in team fights because they're very hard to get off of you and get away from, so he can affect people's positioning and just constantly and consistently poke. His zombie wall is great for creating space or trapping enemies or even creating body blocks as necessary, giving him a real nice crowd control option. His toads may not be that exciting, but they can really add up damage in a chaotic team fight as well. His gargantuan ultimate does a lot of damage and causes a lot of trouble for enemy teams. It's the biggest nuisance in the game as far as NPCs are concerned, so it's a great summon to have on your side. And the great thing about Zeebo is that because of his trait, he stacks health and mana throughout the game as he kills minions. So if you survive into the late game, he becomes a real beast that's difficult to kill and can kind of throw his weight around in team fights without too much risk. Up next is Azara in the specialist role. Azara is another high hero damage hero that's also really good in the early game thanks to her strong early game abilities. She has great auto attack damage, a couple different summons that are pesky annoyances for enemy teams to deal with. Hydralisk or Mutalisk can really destroy people if they're not paying attention. And her ultimate, Devouring Maw, is great to set up burst combos in team fights. If you trap a couple of people in Devouring Maw, there's a very good chance you're going to win the team fight shortly thereafter. But the thing that really makes Azara stand out is that she can place creep tumors across the map, giving her the ultimate advantage when it comes to vision. She can really keep track of the entire map, important contested points like bosses or tributes or things like that to see where enemies are located, and it makes her very safe to be aggressive in lane without risking an approaching gank, because she can see them coming basically from a mile away. And then finally, our third specialist will be Sergeant Hammer. This is someone who's really gained a lot of traction. It's a tank joke. A lot of traction recently thanks to some buffs. Hammer's really just the ultimate zoning tool. She's better on some maps than others, but man, when she plants and starts firing mortars from far away, there's very little the enemy team can do to defend them if her team supports her and sets up a defensive wall that protects her and enables her. She has insanely high auto attack damage that's good against both heroes and against siege, making her a threat at any point in the game. Her ultimate has an extremely low cooldown, so she can just keep firing off those heroic napalm strikes time after time for increased damage. And her mines are pretty good for creating space as well. So Hammer can do a lot of different things, and it's just a threat constantly. You have to monitor and think about and deal with, and forces the enemy team to react in very strong and decisive ways, which some people aren't always good at, and really gives her a leg up on the opponents. So finally, let's take a look at our top 3 warriors for Hero League play right now. Starting with number 1, that would be Leoric. He has been the undisputed king for a while now. You'll notice his crown. The thing about Leoric is he's just so good at everything. He's extremely hard to kill. He's got so much survivability and health and regeneration effects that it's really hard to take him down, so he's good at tanking. He's really good at killing minions with his wave clear. Even though it got nerfed, it's still strong. He's great against enemy tanks thanks to his life draining effects, so in a high heavy tank meta, Leoric thrives especially so. He has a great escape or engaging effect with his E, his Ghost Walk, and his ultimates give him a little bit of flexibility. He can either be extra crowd control focused or just focus on being a bruiser and doing even more damage and adding to his health in big team fights. So he's a little bit of everything, and really the best thing I didn't even mention is that when Leoric dies, his death timer is shorter and shorter thanks to his trait. So even if he's out of the fight, he's usually not out of the fight for long, meaning he's a constant threat and can apply pressure without relenting, making him the top tank in the game right now. Up next is really not a tank so much as a bruiser or even a pseudo assassin, but Sonya has been played as a primary warrior even in high-level tournaments in the World Championships recently, so it's possible, but really she should be seen as more of an off-tank or bruiser-type character that's focused more on damage than survivability. But Sonya's just so great at being a constant force of danger and oppression thanks to the fact that she doesn't have mana. She uses Fury instead, which is constantly renewing, meaning she can just keep firing off attack after attack and never relenting when opponents get sick of her. And her damage output is extremely high for a warrior character. She has a great engage with her little chain pull. Her ultimate means she just gets scarier for a very long time. And her self-sustain is incredibly powerful thanks to her whirlwind. If she gets in the middle of a team fight, you're just not taking her down, and she's killing everybody along the way. Sonya, despite being at the bottom of the barrel for a very long time, is now very near the top when it comes to Hero League win rates. And even though she's not a solo tank, she still takes the number 2 spot on the top warriors in Hero League right now. And then finally, the last character on our list, the number 3 warrior in Hero League these days, is a surprise probably to you, but he just keeps climbing the charts. And that is a pun because he is a musician. He is ETC. This big cow just keeps getting better. His ability to sustain is incredibly strong. He has multiple stuns and disruptions and crowd controlling effects against enemies. His Mosh Pit ultimate can set up incredible combos that wipe away any enemy team that dares stand inside them and dance. And, excuse me. And best of all, ETC has a gigantic body that makes him one of the best body blockers in the game, given his power slides and his mobility abilities and his giant body all combined into one. He will block anyone. So if you're a good body blocker and you're able to take advantage of using body blocks to get in the way of enemy opponents or set up kills, then ETC will certainly be your best friend because he can annoy anyone by just standing in their way and plopping down as the big fat cow that he is and causing chaos. So there you have it. Those are our top 12 Hero League characters right now. Those are the characters you're going to see most often in Hero League and most successfully in Hero League. So if you're not playing those characters already, maybe it's time to start, or just learn how to counter them because you're going to encounter them quite often in Hero League. So thanks for watching. Until next month, game on.